Hi there. I've actually got lovely grey roots in homage to today's subject, so hope nobody minds my grey roots because I don't care. But seriously, do you wake up in the morning dreading going to work? Do you feel like a hamster on a wheel, working like crazy and never getting anywhere? You might be experiencing career burnout. So, burnout is a state of emotional and physical exhaustion caused by prolonged stress at work. And one of the most devious things about this is it can happen really gradually and sneak up on you without you really noticing because it happens incrementally and then it just builds up over time. So this is exactly what happened to me. So I'm hoping this video can help you if you think it might be something that's happening to you. I'm going to break down 7 key signs of burnout, and I'm going to share my own story with you as well as a cautionary tale of what happens when you ignore the signs of burnout. And then I'm going to give you some tips on how to manage if you think you might be experiencing this. At the end of the video, I've got some really exciting info for you that explains why we do not have to put up with burnout anymore. So the first sign is chronic fatigue and lack of energy. The first and most common indicator of burnout is constant exhaustion. If you feel drained even after a good night's sleep, it could be more than just being overworked. It's a sign your energy reserves are being depleted. So the second sign is loss of motivation and enthusiasm. So burnout often sneaks up when the passion you once had for your career starts to fade. Tasks that used to really excite you now just feel meaningless, repetitive, or overwhelming. So the third sign is decreased performance and productivity. When burnout sets in, it affects your ability to concentrate and perform at your best. The decline in productivity can create a vicious cycle of stress then and self-criticism. And sign 4 is emotional detachment and cynicism. So burnout can often manifest itself as emotional detachment. You might feel disconnected from your work, your workmates, or even your personal life. Cynicism is another red flag. If you started to see the worst in everything, it's probably time to take a step back. And then the fifth sign is physical symptoms of stress. So burnout doesn't just stay in your head, it affects your body too. Symptoms could be like frequent headaches, stomach problems, muscle tension. There's lots of different ways of your body saying, help, something needs to change. The sixth sign is feeling unappreciated or unsupported. When you feel undervalued at work, whether it's from lack of recognition or unsupported leadership, it can quickly lead to burnout. Everyone needs to feel like their contribution matters. So the seventh point is overcommitment and an inability to disconnect. Lastly, burnout thrives where there's no separation between your work and your personal life. If you're constantly switched on, it's only a matter of time before the stress catches up with you. So I want to tell you about my experience of burnout and see if anything I experience matches you, because then that's a really good indicator that you too are experiencing burnout. So I did have a really stressful job. I was chronically overworked, and it wasn't just admin building up and the pressure of that. I was in charge of keeping children safe. The work was really high pressured with court work and life-changing decisions for families. I often couldn't do the job properly because I had far too many cases. And that made me feel really fearful. And then there was increased anxiety and stress because of that. Very often I would have a sensation as I was driving to work that I was going to crash my car because my head was just chock full. I had difficulty sleeping. Also noticed my heart rate was always high, and I had panic attacks as well. Over time, I developed a headache that simply did not leave. It was there for about 6 months. It was probably the most debilitating period of my life. Can you imagine having a non-stop headache for half a year and then still having to continue with that toxic job? I actually paid privately for an MRI scan to see if something was going wrong, but when the results came back clear, I just knew it was stress. With those headaches, you know that they did not go after I left that job, or even when I had a holiday before starting my next job. The headache only lifted on my first day of my new job. How weird is that? I think it was my body and mind realising it was finally safe from that other crazy work. Now, in my situation, I had a really highly pressured job in child protection, so I think the burnout accelerated much faster. Looking back, I think I pushed the signs of burnout away and just carried on because I felt like if I stopped, I was weak or not capable and I must push through and it's my problem and I need to sort it out and get tougher. But now on reflection, that was really naive because it didn't get better. I didn't get stronger and better able to cope. In fact, I got worse. I think as well I was entrenched in my work environment so heavily that I was feeling like if everyone else was working like crazy, I should be too, rather than listening to my own individual needs. I believe long term I've paid a hefty price for making the decision to ignore burnout. The key thing I want to share with you is please, please, please do not ignore the signs of burnout if you're experiencing them. Your body is sending you a very clear message that all is not well. We all have different capacities, and just because someone else is managing, it doesn't mean you have to if your body is saying no. In ignoring the signs of burnout for as long as I did, I actually think there was long-term damage, because I can no longer really manage stress very well. My reserves are unusually low, and I read in a medical journal that this does happen when we're exposed to high levels of stress for a long period of time. I notice my nervous system reacts more quickly and my memory has been really affected too from being so overloaded for so long. So burnout can manifest in so many different ways. I even knew a colleague whose skin on the soles of her feet was coming away due to stress. And another lady I knew, her periods completely stopped for years and only came back when she left the profession for good. Wow. So if you are noticing unusual changes in your body, this could be your body's reaction to stress, its own individual reaction. So now that we've covered some of the signs of burnout, let's talk about some solutions. So the first step is acknowledging the problem, and you are doing that right now just by watching this video and looking at some of the symptoms. You could also communicate with your manager about potential workload adjustments. If you're laughing at that and there's no way in hell that would happen, you could potentially look at your workflows for yourself. You may be able to section your work up so that you become more efficient and regain some control of your day. There are some really, really great videos about working efficiently on YouTube that really, really help me to become more efficient. I think when you're in control of tasks, you will hopefully feel a bit more control overall. An example I have of this is that my emails used to always be open, and if a new email came in, I would stop the report I was writing, look at the email, respond, and then get distracted, like where the hell was I? Also, the flow I was in and my report would take ages to get back into because I'd have to reread where I was up to and try and get back into the flow. But when I set and allocated time each day just for answering emails and blocked my time where I could, it hugely helped me to remain focused rather than this scattered approach to my work, which did increase the sensation of being overwhelmed. So another point is that you could potentially take time off to recharge if possible. You could also reclaim your energy by prioritising your sleep, really good nutrition and short breaks during the day, so you're really looking after yourself. Self-care is really important. You'd also benefit from re-establishing boundaries between work and personal life to rebuild some balance. Some people often seek support from a therapist or counsellor. You might even consider that. Also, consider if your current job really aligns with your values and long-term goals, and if it's possible to actually change this or move out of this. So burnout is tough, but it's not permanent. You can change it. The key is not to ignore it and hope that it will go away, because telling you straight, very often it will just get worse over time if you leave it. And it's really important that you know that, because the more burnt out and exhausted we get, the more difficult it is going to be to make changes, because it takes energy to make changes. In the past, people would often stay in their careers totally burnt out because they just weren't able to spend another 3 years going to university to retrain only to have to start at the bottom of the income ladder in a new career. But now really is absolutely the best time to make any changes in your career if you want to, because we have had an information revolution. This means that we have access to learning new skills in a way we never did before. Even 10 years ago, we did not have this. So it's a really exciting time, and it's there for the taking, because learning is now so much more accessible and flexible, meaning you don't need to drop everything and start a 3-year expensive degree. That was what I would call legacy education. We're in a new era now, and I hope that that gives you some hope. On this channel, my mission is to support you to live your best life by living in a way that boosts you rather than burns you out. And there's loads of new tips for that coming up. So see you next time.